Welcome to episode 21 of The Leap Home, Animal Frat.
In this week's episode, Sam must rise above his acquired frat boy persona and prevent a tragedy as a campus anti-war group plans an explosive protest to highlight the immorality of the fighting in Vietnam. With a young woman the focus of his attention, Sam must persuade her first that he can be taken seriously, and second, that he is right to warn against violence. But can he make a breakthrough before the bomb goes off? Or will he face the fiery consequences of failure?
Okay, I know I'm supposed to be enjoying this, but I'm not.
Well, that's because you're a AAA super-duper overachiever type of personalities.
Good evening, Ian. How are we?
Not too bad, Gerry. How are you?
A super duper triple A personality achiever thing.
Yeah. Self-anointed. What have you been up to this week?
Watching a bit of Quantum Leap and watching Dahmer.
Have you been?
Mentioned that last week. Oh, before I forget, I'm annoyed at myself.
What for?
I meant to mention it last week because the previous week I pronounced David Bowie as David Bowie.
Did you?
It's Bowie.
Well, you've probably upset millions of people.
Yeah. No, you can tell why it's Bowie, not Bowie.
Because it rhymes with Zoe?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of this episode? Is this the first one that's directly touched on Vietnam? I'm trying to think.
Yes.
It's been mentioned before.
It has been. I always mentioned his role and involvement.
Sam's brother as well, I think you mentioned. But this is the first time that it's really come up as a subject matter of the episode, although I think it's likely to recur. I mean, it makes sense that it was one of the dominant news stories of Sam's lifetime.
Of course.
And it went on for years.
Yeah. This, I like the look of this. I'm a fan of the genre.
Frat house comedy.
Oh, yeah, I mean, obviously it's a nod to Animal House.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine anything worse than actually being in a fraternity.
It'd be terrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Smelly and socialising.
I certainly wouldn't put myself up as a pledge.
No, that's crazy.
Do this or do that. Away you go.
It's like you're never going to gain respect from that, are you?
No. Occasionally I'd be happy enough to go to one of the parties.
Maybe, yeah, if I knew enough folk that were also going.
And I wouldn't want to live full time in that house with all this shenanigans.
No.
Become irritating.
Yeah, it must be foul.
Yeah.
But still, if folk like that sort of thing.
Yeah, you're only young ones.
Except for these guys who seem to stay at university for year after year after year.
That's it.
If you've got views on frat houses or anything else, you can get in touch with us on social media. We're at Leap Home Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. We're at The Leap Home on Facebook. We've got show notes up for each episode at theleaphome.com, and as we always say, if you could go to Columbo Podcast Productions on YouTube, you'll find every episode 1 week early where you can like it, you can leave your thoughts, and you can subscribe and hit the bell for an announcement every time a new one shows up, although it is the same time every week.
You can also get us on Frat Chat.
No doubt, or some other grinder or something, I don't know. You can leave reviews on any of those platforms that have that facility, and preferably Apple Podcasts. That's where people check for these sorts of things, apparently.
Enough of this, let's crack on.
This week's lesson is that every leap is a true and rewarding experience.
Is it?
I think he's just run out of things to say now. What sounds profound? True and rewarding?
Yeah, I think Sam mentions that he never knows what sort of problems are going to arise, and the challenges vary in importance and impact.
Well, that's certainly true.
And this week doesn't begin like an episode that has any sort of serious consequences.
No, but that may change as time goes on. We start off with Sam in a football jersey getting beer poured from a keg onto his face as a party rages around him.
Yeah, he's in a frat house lying on top of a pool table.
And as is his way, he immediately wants out of the situation he's arrived in. So he wanders off and comes across a guy with a surfboard full of drinks. As
Louie plays on the stereo.
Better not put that in a clip. We'll have to pay for that one.
Yes, you would have to. Good song. Good tune.
A young guy comes up to him with 2 lobsters before kneeling and calling him "Your Royal Wildness, sir," when he doesn't respond initially.
Yeah, this guy's pathetic.
He really is. Another guy shows up and asks the guy who's kneeling what is the lowest form of life, and he says it's a pledge, and he is the lowest of the pledges.
But he does confirm that in 1967, the greatest fraternity in the nation is Tau Kappa Beta, is that a
Tau
beta?
Kappa Beta.
There you go. He's dismissed, and then this other guy, the more confident chap, he leaves. But before a bigger guy compliments Sam on throwing the greatest party, and proceeds to throw up himself
All over Sam's feet.
Yeah, certainly in the trouser direction. You see, this, I'm not sure how of a caricature of this lifestyle is. You see this in the movies. This
Yeah.
never happened in the UK, certainly not in
Well,
Scotland.
we don't have fraternities here now.
No, we don't, but even...
Yeah, when you've got unions, it's not the same
No,
thing.
but leaving aside the educational side of the academic nature of it, just parties were not like this. You never had... You watch these American movies, right?
Yeah.
And they have a party like for teenagers, and they've got an actual band playing.
Yeah, no, we never had that. If you went to see a band, you went to see a band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't have all these wacky characters. You know, you'd bring your own bottle of Buckfast or...
Yeah, and there weren't folk who were like running like the year group or whatever it was. There's not like
No,
socially superior people that everyone looked up to.
there wasn't really.
No. You all had your own group of friends. You didn't care about
Yeah.
anybody else's.
I mean, you did have the scum, like the dregs.
Well, of course. But they weren't allowed at the parties.
No.
We should note that the obsequious little guy was sent away to put the lobsters in Dean Stomper's mailbox. It took me a couple of minutes to work out that Dean was the guy's job and not his name.
Right, okay.
We get the credits after this vomit incident, and we come back to the frat house. Sam's figured out it's, obviously from what they said, it's 1967. We're told in the caption it's the 19th of October, 1967. He's at Meeks College, he figures, from a banner on the wall.
Is that a real college?
I didn't look into it, I don't think so.
Probably not.
No, somebody would have said something.
Yeah.
He's a member of this Tau Kappa Beta, and it's 1967.
And so we head to his room, which helpfully has been daubed "Wild Thing Lives Here."
Yes, that makes sense for him. He's showered with some unidentified liquid as he goes in the door.
Is that not the sickness?
Well, something comes down from above.
Oh yeah, I think someone's placed a... Yeah, it's just a prank.
Yeah, it happens again when he goes out.
Yeah. So he gets in to take off his trousers, and he notes the state of the place, and this is exactly why he never joined a fraternity. And I sort of agree with him here.
Completely. He says it's more like a cave.
Well, see, that's another thing as well. I have never, or back in that sort of situation, I would never have thrown a party myself.
I also wouldn't have wanted a party yet near where I sleep. I want the opportunity to get away.
Yeah, I would go to someone else's house and do all this. You know, get drunk and cause havoc and end up trying to do things in their parents' bed. But at the end of the day, you want to, people like, I'm tired now, everyone out, and you can't do that in your own place.
No, I know. That's why I don't like having folk visit the house like in the evening. It's like, no, don't come here. I'm always putting up obstacles if anyone ever tries to invite anybody here.
Yeah, I notice when I get my invitation.
You're not.
Right,
You
okay.
come round to do podcasts, that's enough.
And that's it. Stop. Bye.
Exactly. There's an end, and we know when it finishes, and you can leave. We see somebody stirring under the bed covers, but Sam doesn't notice this. He finds out, however, that his name is Newt Wilton.
It's a silly name.
Well, he makes as if there's a pun between Newt and like a Newt.
Yeah. He looks about 35 as well. We see him in the mirror.
Yeah, and balding. Yeah,
Well,
drastically.
he then gets a fright when he hears a stirring, and two hot brunette twins appear from under his covers and invite him to rejoin them.
Yeah, for some reason he panics at this.
Sam is such a now, okay, this is the opportunity you've got. He's a sap.
Even if you're not going to get involved, you can still play it cool and not look like an idiot.
Get involved. He's no problems with getting involved. These two are up for it, right? And they're not looking for any long term. This is a perfect situation just to have a bit of fun, because that's all they're doing.
Yeah. There's no harm, no foul.
Yeah, exactly. And it's two twin sisters. I mean, it might be a legal borderline. Who knows? But not on your behalf. That's up to them.
Yeah.
But you can still jump. Come on, get yourself in there.
But instead, he ends up falling over a chair, trying to put his trousers on while he's talking about studying, which makes no sense at all. He then manages to get out of the room, soaked again, and sheepishly looks back as he closes the door.
He's pathetic.
It was a poor show. I think we're now at the next day.
In a classroom, Sam and Al watch as some of his frat brothers fire water balloons at student activists and the groundskeeper below, which suitably impresses Al.
Yeah, he says he did the same thing when he was at college, but they used the tube out of a bicycle tyre, and this setup is far better.
Sam, however, is not of the same opinion and wants to know how he gets out of there.
I want to leap out of here as soon as I can.
Well, don't worry. According to Ziggy, you're in no danger of graduating this year or next year. Seems this Newt Wildton is into the 10-year plan.
Let me guess, he's a PE major with a minor in underwater hotel management.
Wrong. You're a physicist with a shot at the Nobel Prize. Just kidding. Well, he's an art major, some kind of a sculptor.
Probably works in beer cans. Okay, so I gotta pass some test or something, right? So he can stay in school and become a great artist. Is that it?
No. According to Ziggy, there's an 87.6% chance you're here to help Elizabeth Spokane.
You stupid jerk!
Well, so much for first impressions.
Al, look, if anybody needs help, it's these guys, not her.
Well, tomorrow, that's Saturday, Elizabeth and her group are going to plant a bomb in the chemistry building.
Bomb?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of bombs planted on campuses in the 60s. Usually protesting departments whose research
Was related to the government's war efforts in Vietnam.
Yeah? It goes off at 9 p.m. There wasn't supposed to be anybody in there.
But this time there was.
Right. A kid who snuck in late to finish some project. And it killed him. Elizabeth went underground and spent the rest of her life on the run.
I can't let that happen.
How does Ziggy figure he's there to save Elizabeth and not the kid that gets killed?
Good point, yeah. And Sam immediately, I can't let that happen. He's almost falling in love with her.
Oh, she's pretty. Yes, can't have her on the run.
I don't know.
Well, surely had a wonderful life on the run.
Yeah.
It might be like full of adventure and excitement.
And also, I'm not sure why they made the point about him being a sculptor.
That never comes up again.
It doesn't come back up again.
I didn't really like Sam's dig at PE teachers either.
Did you not?
My mum's a PE teacher.
Right.
Or she was.
She's not anymore.
No, she's retired now.
Yeah.
Still.
The principal.
Underwater hotel management. That's the kind of thing that the Tories right now are trying to defund. Like, no funding for degrees we don't think are worthy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sam heads outside, tells the other guys to take notes for him, and they're like, what?
What are we talking about? Yeah.
Again, doesn't know who he is, doesn't care who he is.
It'll be in your trivia, no doubt, later on, but did you recognise one of these pals?
I've got stuff about all of his pals. Which one did you recognise? One of them is a lot more...
The one that played the same role before, almost, that we watched.
The one in Sledgehammer?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got that.
Good. Anyhow,
Okay, I didn't miss that.
outside, Sam approaches Elizabeth.
Yeah, I've noted Sam, as usual, oblivious to who he is and the fact that other people already have opinions about that person, approaches Elizabeth as if that's fine.
He never considers it. Perhaps he has to adjust things, to lay some groundwork, to perhaps be a bit more subtle and
He
just
just
take a
thinks
bit of time.
if his intentions are good, then people will have to put up with that.
But of course not. She has no time for the jock and isn't interested in his apology for the water attack.
No, of course not. Why would she be? She suggests he leaves when he says he wants to apologise.
Well, especially when he suggests that they get together and talk about things.
Well, indeed, she says she would never go out with him. But Sam says that's not what he meant, and then Al interjects, causing Sam to once again blurt out something at Al, which is embarrassing or confusing to people around him.
Yeah, I think what it says, forget about her body.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Sam, you're an experienced leaper
You
now.
can see the woman right in front of you.
Yeah,
Even if Al was actually there, you wouldn't say that out loud.
I know.
As if he thinks because they can't hear Al, they can't hear him talking to Al. And it hasn't got through.
But Sam persists and reiterates that he needs to talk to her. But she refers him to Duck, who says can explain it much better. Duck's one of her pals.
Yeah, well, she's making the point that if he's really interested in the cause, it doesn't matter whether it's her or Duck that he speaks to.
So she walks off, and the quite patronising Duck actually hands Sam a leaflet, and he offers to help in their cause as he agrees with them in wanting to end the war.
And Duck gives him a solid thanks but no thanks to his offer to help them.
Yeah, he thinks that Sam's just interested in Elizabeth.
Of course he does, because he is.
Yeah.
Sam kind of tries to call his bluff here, saying that if he's really serious about stopping the war, he'd accept his unspecific help. However, Duck says he's figured out that Sam is deceptively smart, and deceptively smart people need watched, so he's going to watch him and make sure he goes nowhere near Elizabeth. He doesn't really follow through on that, though.
He doesn't. Yeah.
Al, at this point, suggests that Sam has made his own task much harder.
Yeah. We find ourselves in the science lab. Sam is there with his irritating buddies as well as Elizabeth, as they listen to their teacher talk chemistry.
They're not really listening, are they? And Elizabeth doesn't seem very impressed with them.
She uses the opportunity to make a political point.
Yes, she asks the professor to justify the department's participation in an illegal war.
Which doesn't go down too well with the meatheads. But Sam defends her opinion and gets teased for his perceived ulterior motive.
Yes, and one of the guys bets him that he can't get her to come to the luau.
Did you know what a luau was?
Yeah, Hawaiian sort of party. Yeah.
Wasn't sure.
Al, at this point, chips in, saying that inviting her to the luau would stop her from planting a bomb.
Now, this turns out the way I thought it might. I took a note here saying, really? You can plant a bomb at any time.
Yeah. Also, it's going to completely backfire when someone blurts out that they bet him he couldn't get her to come to the luau, but that never happens either.
In any case, he accepts the bet and then proceeds to stand and make his own point to the class about whether the US is actually trying to help the South Vietnamese, or is it just part of the game of geopolitics.
He doesn't really make any point. He presents two sides of an argument without picking.
Yeah, that's true.
He says, are we helping a friend or imposing our will?
Yeah, exactly.
You decide. For some reason, the frat guys clink their test tubes in support of his argument as Elizabeth looks chastened and sits back down again.
Maybe not the best approach by Sam to make her feel a bit embarrassed.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe she'll think he's made a strong and thoughtful argument.
Possibly. Outside, he asks if he can join her at a meeting, and she points out it's a free country.
That's true, and he can come if he wants. Scooter, at this point, however, comes by and Sam stops him.
Yeah, he detracts from his now sort of serious persona he's trying to give off.
Yeah, well, we should point out Scooter's the guy that brought the lobsters in the first scene.
Yeah, he's wearing his underpants on the outside, on Sam's orders.
Yes, and he's carrying hamburger meat, which we would call mince.
Why did Sam call him over?
To stop him wearing his pants, so he said his trousers.
Yeah, but you should just ignore this.
Yeah,
why would you
that
care?
Would make more sense. He's trying to show how mature he is.
Yeah, and he has to sort of sheepishly tell Scooter that he doesn't have to keep on doing...
Yeah, or wearing his pants.
Yeah, and this causes him to verbalise his gratitude to his royal wildness.
He explains that he's carrying this mince because he's going to distract the dog and steal the Dean's signed Wilt Chamberlain basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam tries to stop him from doing that, but he says he's going to get kicked out of the fraternity if that happens. So Sam revises it to say, bring me the basketball instead.
No, I think it does. He still steals it, but Sam can get it and then hand it back.
But he doesn't, he just hands it on to the other guys. We see it later on.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he realises at this point he should not be concerning himself with Scooter and his antics and just concentrate on the bombs.
Yeah, well, that's probably the more serious matter. Scooter leaves anyway, and Elizabeth says that all this frat stuff is stupid.
Yeah, but is then partially convinced by his dubious logic that it's part of human evolution and...
it's like a young hunter proving he's a man.
Yeah, I think maybe she secretly just quite likes him and is willing to give him a chance.
Yeah, maybe. At this meeting, they're going to hear a speech from Duck, who's talking about the oppressive agendas of a selfish minority controlling the destiny of people halfway around the world. Yeah,
and how taking up arms is the only way the establishment will listen. Sam thinks to himself that there is something of the fanatic about him and that he is a little spooky, but accepts that also may be the case when Jefferson roused his followers against Great Britain.
Perhaps.
I think that describing him as a fanatic, you have to be. If you're an activist, you have to be fanatical, passionate.
Yeah, if you don't really care, you're not going to be an activist at all, are you?
By definition, all these people should be fanatics.
You would think so. Duck explains that violence is the only language that the bloated ruling class can understand. At which point, an unimpressed Al shows up.
Yeah, and he clearly doesn't like Duck either and agrees with Sam that he doesn't know what Elizabeth sees in him. I couldn't accept that. I mean, he's good looking. He's not a jock.
Articulate. He's on the same sort of side of the argument as she is. So.
He's passionate.
Yep. Well, plenty of reasons why she should be interested in him.
Yeah, the default position should be that she would be interested in him, not a jock or anyone else.
You would think so.
Right up her alley.
That would be my thoughts as well.
Al thinks that it is more the cause than Duck himself, and he points out that the audience are generally well-off kids who came to college and didn't have to go to Vietnam, which has caused feelings of guilt within them.
And they're also rebelling against their parents, and some of them have a sincere desire to do the right thing. But they're misguided, probably, in his opinion.
Yeah.
After the talk, Sam speaks to Elizabeth and says that Duck is a great speaker, and she says that's because he's right. Well, that doesn't make you a great speaker.
No. But I suppose if you are on the side of right, you don't have to...
If you hit the talking points, I suppose.
Yeah, if you believe in it.
It's a bit like how folk can lap up Donald Trump's speeches, even though he can barely string 3 words together because he hits the talking points that they're looking for.
Yeah, generally just sort of racism.
Well, mostly.
Sexism, misogyny and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, all the big things.
I suppose it's interesting that Al is a military man.
Yeah, he's certainly been in the military. He's been in the... maybe an astronaut, and he's been a soldier as well, I think, has he? Or at least, even as an astronaut, you're part of the armed forces, aren't you, at some point?
Oh, he was
a pilot.
Pilot, yeah.
He was a pilot beforehand.
Astronauts aren't part of the armed forces, Ian.
No, but most astronauts have been part of... That's what I'm trying to say, yes. Certainly in those days, in the early part of the astronaut program.
So I'm thinking that someone who joined the military back then would have been right-leaning, conservative.
Certainly somewhat conservative.
Don't get too many liberals joining the military.
I don't know what it's like in the military, but I suspect not. Sam, though, doesn't agree with everything Duck had to say.
No?
He's not in favour of taking up arms against the government.
Yeah, I think he describes it like a civil war.
Yeah, that's sure that's his Second Amendment right.
I mean, I think this is dodgy territory, because the type of right-wing nut jobs who think that you've got the extreme right, like the Proud Boys and the ones that, the Capitol riots,
yeah,
the militias who hate government.
Yes.
So you don't want to be on the side of them, but you've also got people who are fighting just and proper causes against governments.
Against corrupt governments, yes.
Well, anything else. I mean, the Americans themselves, that's how they established their independence, by fighting the government.
Yeah.
You have fascist governments. You've got Franco and what have you over the years.
We have a fascist government.
We have a very fascist government, yeah. In any case, his opinion annoys her, so he asks her to the luau instead the following night. Initially, this gets a dismissive response, and so Sam resorts to the old Biff Tannen tactic.
What? What's the matter? You don't like parties?
Not if you call getting drunk and throwing up a party, no.
Come on. Now, I mean, even revolutionaries need to party every once in a while. I mean, don't you think that Washington and Gandhi, or even Lenin, needed to take a break occasionally?
When they had the time, I'm sure.
Okay, what do you say? I promise to pass out flyers with you tomorrow. You go to the luau with me tomorrow night. Flyers for luau, luau for flyers.
Whoa, wait. What would the young Republicans think?
I don't care. What, are you worried about Abby Hoffman and what he's going to think if you go to a luau with me?
Now, who's Abby Hoffman? Okay.
Okay. I'll pick you up at 8.
No.
Okay, you meet me there at 8.
Okay.
How did that work?
It shouldn't have. She should have just dismissed it out of hand and been slightly annoyed, to be honest.
And walked away?
Yeah.
So childish.
He's not even managed to build a rapport with her before he goes into this garbage.
You can't taunt me into doing something I don't want by saying I'm a chicken.
No.
It's not.
Nobody calls me chicken. No, it's like, I mean, it would fit with the frat boy thing if he's playing up to the character, but it shouldn't have any impact on Elizabeth.
No, he can do that to one of his friends and they'll feel obliged to prove they're not chickens, but she isn't playing the game.
She would just see that as frat boy nonsense.
Uh-huh.
So it doesn't make sense to me. I call it bad writing.
Yes. She then walks over to Duck and tells him what Sam asked, and he assumes she refused, which she confirms she did.
Well, that's a lie.
Liar.
She's trying to play both sides.
Yeah. Likes a bit of duck and a bit of
Newt.
bit of newt and duck.
Surf and turf. No.
All the animals.
Outside, Sam is walking through campus as Scooter comes running by shouting his name.
Yes, he throws him the basketball as he tries to outrun the barking dog of the dean.
He exits stage right, pursued by a bear.
Quite like that. It was quite-
I like the fact that he comes back again
yes.
moments later and is still under pursuit by this dog. Sam tells Al he feels sophomoric, but Al reminds him, we heard at the top of the show, that as a genius he never really got the chance to goof off, and his overachiever personality is making him unhappy when he's not doing something smart. Sam says he doesn't know how to have fun, and Al says even he doesn't have fun all the time.
In any case, he is told that it'll all be over by 9 o'clock the next night after he stops Elizabeth setting off the bomb.
So Sam thinks he can cope until then, and we, like I say, see Scooter once again being pursued by the dog running the other direction.
And his trousers, his pants torn.
In the frat house, one of the idiots is calling in a hoax bomb threat, and Sam slams the phone down, breaking it and telling him he's an idiot.
Is that Gunna or Gunna?
I don't know their names.
I think it's Gunna.
At the end I'll tell you who played each character by name, but I don't know which one's which. The one with the short blonde hair, spiky hair, is
Gunna,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
He joins the other two.
Yeah, they're studying, I think, or at least pretending to study.
Well, they're struggling with I think it's a chemistry question, and they're shocked and delighted when he gives them the correct answer.
They're not quite so impressed when he says he won't let them cheat by sitting behind him in the test.
He's such a square. What difference does this make in the grand scheme of things?
Exactly. Why does he care? And also, the real Newt isn't going to be able to pass the test, so it's all just going to make everyone a bit confused, if not suspicious.
And so they decide to sing the La Bamba instead and pull a prank.
Yeah, they're not going to pass the test anyway. No point studying. Let's go and do something stupid.
We head to the girls' dorm now. This is a classic setting in a sort of animal, a frat house
This
comedy.
reminded of like a 90s movie with the girl in her pants with her back to them.
Well, not 90s as well, but certainly 80s for sure.
I was thinking like Road Trip and American Pie, that sort of thing.
Porky's is the standard for this
Okay.
type of thing.
I've not seen Porky's.
If you watched it, you would see the influence it's had
On these other ones, yeah. Yeah, so they've climbed the ladder in a window, including Sam. And
Yeah, he's at the back. Yeah, we see the frat pack enter.
so they've snuck past these girls getting changed for bed, and after a few of them come out of the bathroom, they assume it must be empty and pile in,
Yeah.
except for Sam, who hangs back and talks to Al.
We did get quite a couple of nice sort of glimpses of the... anyway,
The teenage girls.
yeah, played by 30-year-old women, no doubt.
Al explains to Sam he never did this stuff in college because he was 16.
Yeah, and was a mega nerd.
But he does have the knowledge to help them pull off the prank successfully.
Yeah, they're trying to deploy cherry bombs down the toilet, and Sam has to provide the correct technique with the help of Al.
And some chewing gum from Scooter.
Yeah. They set them up. See, that's the thing as well. I don't even know what... You see this in like The Simpsons. I don't know what a cherry bomb is really and how it would blow up under the water.
Maybe someone can let us know on social media what the...
We never had them here.
No, it wasn't something. We had like poppers and cap guns and
Cap
stuff.
guns, yeah.
You wouldn't use them to prank women in their dorm.
No.
though.
But I don't understand how you could set something in fire and put it in water and it would still work.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just don't know.
And what you could buy them. Kids could buy cherry bombs. Is that a thing that you
I don't know, yeah.
I mean, or was it one of these sort of illicit things that you have to be over 18, but you'd get your big brother to buy it for you?
Someone can tell us. We need to know.
Mm-hmm.
In the YouTube comments.
Yeah.
As they make their escape, however, Elizabeth clocks Sam.
He's always getting caught.
Hopeless. And he falls off this ladder to his death.
That was a nod to Animal House.
Okay. I don't think he died.
No, he didn't.
No. Next in the library, he sees Elizabeth and approaches her, but she turns her back on him and gets up to walk away.
Yeah, I mean, he's got understandably a shamed look in his face.
Yeah, no wonder. But it doesn't make sense to her. Why would he be apologising to him? He's literally just chosen to do this thing a few hours ago. Why would it's not a genuine apology.
Of course it's
If
not.
he felt bad, he wouldn't have done it.
In any case, he follows her with her bag that she left behind and attempts once again to apologise.
I'm sorry about the bathroom.
Look, Newt, you and I are different. We live in completely disparate worlds.
Sort of like the Montagues and Capulets.
Exactly. All you care about is beer and partying, and I'm trying
You're trying to change the world, I know, but do you think that violence is the way to do it?
It's the only voice the bloated ruling class can
Do
understand.
you really believe that? What Duck says? I mean, don't you see, if you use violence, you are as morally corrupt as the people you're fighting against.
Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire.
Elizabeth, violence is not going to stop this war.
But we've got to end it. Too many people are dying.
Then stop it by using something more powerful than violence.
Well, I'm afraid God seems to be sitting this one out.
Wouldn't be too sure about that. I know this is a cliche, but the pen is mightier than the sword.
The time for rhetoric is over.
You haven't even begun yet. You think 20 people at an outdoor rally is a big deal? You need 20,000, 20 million.
That's impossible.
Not with the pen, not with publicity, in any form. Newspapers, magazines, pamphlets, television.
Television?
Television is going to play a big part in stopping this war. Publicity is the key, not violence.
The only reason why you're saying this to me is because you want me to go to some party with you. You don't care about the people over there. You don't care about how many soldiers are dying.
I do care.
Hey, let her go.
Just stay out of this.
Back off.
Don't! Stop it!
Look, I lost a brother in Vietnam, all right? So don't tell me I don't care.
Well, maybe you should have cared just a little more about him before he went.
There's Sam again, putting his own life story into somebody else's events.
Yeah,
So
because in the future, when he comes back, what about your brother? I don't have a brother.
I never had a brother, and also I was bet to bring you to the law. She's like, "Oh, I'm leaving you then.
Yeah.
Oh, you just lied to me. Everything's a lie."
And that, again, is an example, as I mentioned earlier, about Sam's sort of conservative, right-wing-ish view on demonstrations, on...
Yeah, the only protests he supports are ones that don't really bother anybody.
Yeah.
Just need to go on telly and complain.
I mean, I didn't like the fact that he says you're just as bad. If you pick up arms, you're as bad as a person. No, it's not. I mean,
always the
if you're
case.
being oppressed...
Yeah.
I mean, that's the type
That's
of...
like saying the Ukrainians right now are
Yeah.
as bad as the Russians because
Or-
they're shooting them.
Or, the right always, and the racist always use that example against Nelson Mandela.
Mm.
There's plenty of things. And the US itself had to, as mentioned, had to pick up arms against an oppressive government.
Nevertheless, it's worked on Elizabeth because she chastises Duck and goes after Sam, saying that she's sorry and asking what she should wear to the luau.
I wonder if Duck is, again, a nod to Ducky from Pretty in Pink. John Cryer.
Could be.
Talking about Pretty in Pink, that Molly Ringwald is in
Yeah.
Dahmer.
Oh, okay. We skip ahead to the luau, and Elizabeth has shown up, and Al is also there enjoying himself.
Yeah, she unconvincingly agrees with Sam that it's a great party, but says it reminds her of her parents' cocktail parties and how no one really listens.
Some random guy comes over to get a drink, so Sam ushers Elizabeth through to a different room that's a bit quieter, and he apologises to her for coming down so hard about the war stuff. Unfortunately, though, she has taken some action that he would not approve of.
What's that?
She's put a bomb in the chemistry lab, and she tells him right now that it was inspired by his cherry bomb prank.
Oh, dearie me.
Al's a bit concerned as she's talking, and Sam cottons on fairly quickly what she's done.
He tries to dissuade her, but she thinks it's a great idea, and hits a bit of a nerve when she says that it could end the war early and stop someone else's brother dying.
Yeah.
However, he tells her she can't do it, but she says it's too late. And Al suggests that a timing device may have been used. Duh, of course.
So she wasn't going to press the button herself, was she?
Well, that's what I said earlier on. It's not like when you talk about planting a bomb, that's different from walking about with a grenade.
Yes.
It's of course that's what you do when you plant a bomb. No one plants a bomb and stays with it.
No. You plant the bomb and then go to the party.
Of course.
Yeah.
Things get worse when he finds out from the meatheads that they sent Scooter to the chemistry lab to steal a copy of the exam paper.
Yes. But when Sam runs off to save Scooter, Scooter shows up.
Yes, and Al finds out that it is now him and Elizabeth that are going to die.
I've got a bit of a problem with this. I don't understand who the person that originally died was.
Yeah, because in the original history, it was Scooter that died.
We assume.
Yeah, so Scooter's now turned up, so if Sam and Elizabeth just stay where they are, then no one dies.
Yeah, and why has Scooter just turned up? What's changed his timeline? Is it what Sam said to him earlier? The fact he's treated him slightly differently?
Yeah, well, I can't remember. When he turns up here, does he say something?
He just didn't go for the test, he bottled it. Because the other guys are celebrating Sam, saying he's gone off to save the integrity of the frat house and steal the tea.
I suppose what you can say, it's the butterfly effect. Sam isn't now changing history, so things have changed and that's just what happened.
Yeah, I guess. This isn't how it works in all the other episodes, though. Like, the original history stays on track until he does something actively to prevent it. Anyway, never mind. We get to the chemistry lab where Elizabeth and Sam try to stop the bomb that she has put in the locker.
Yeah, they eventually get into this locker after she struggles under pressure to remember the code.
Al tells Sam that Scooter is safe, but Sam says somebody else could still die.
Of course they could, just standing right in front of a bomb.
Yes. Once the locker's open and the bomb is there, Al tells him they've less than 5 minutes to defuse it.
But Elizabeth, unfortunately, has no idea how to disarm it, as it was Duck who made it.
We see Sam then break into the chemistry lab and get, I think, scissors of some kind to cut through the wires. But we also see Duck lurking in the background.
He does, yeah. I quite liked how Sam got in there. He sort of kicked his way through the glass.
Yeah. Although, presumably the door's open if Duck's in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he must be planning to escape. Anyhow, Sam and Elizabeth do cut the wires, but Al is shocked to see the countdown continue.
Ah, yes. Initially, they breathe a sigh of relief, but apparently, Duck didn't trust Elizabeth, and there are now 2 bombs.
Duck then comes out the lab looking a bit moody and says he won't tell Sam anything, but Sam won't let him leave, and as they fight, the other frat guys show up to cheer Sam on.
Yeah, they end up rolling around the floor. I think Duck smashes a beaker over Sam's head.
While Al's yelling at Sam to stop the John Wayne stuff because there's less than 1 minute until the explosion.
Eventually, Sam gets him in an arm lock with 30 seconds to go and asks him if he's ready to die. As the frat boys underestimate the situation and chant encouragement, they think it's a bit of a game.
They do, they don't understand the seriousness. However, Duck then tells them that the bomb's right in front of them, and they notice that, oh yeah, there is. Right in front of us with all these red and blue wires.
And he scurries off like a coward.
Yeah, Sam tries to disarm it, but is not able to do so. So he comes up with one last plan.
That's, okay, what does he do?
He, thinking back to the last time they were in the lab, gets the boys to set up a torpedo sort of catapult setup, puts the bomb in it, and somehow with 1 second to go manages to get it far enough away that the explosion takes place in mid-air.
Yeah, to the score, the soundtrack of Wild Thing playing in the background.
Yeah, suggesting that Sam's now achieved legendary status for his alter ego.
This is unbelievably risky. If it's 1 second too late, it blows up in the lab.
Yeah.
And if it goes 1 second too early,
it could land on somebody.
Yeah, or the other way around, late and early, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could have landed down there and killed a lot of people.
But not them. That's what they were trying to avoid.
Yeah, obviously. We've saved the 5 of us.
Sam murdered a guy last week.
Fair enough.
Back at the luau, because obviously after this sort of thing happens, you want to go back and party somewhere.
Well, apparently no one saw a massive explosion as they're back at the party like nothing happened.
Yeah. Elizabeth is upset. She thinks she's turning into her father and she should have listened to Sam all along. Why?
That's quite the turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah.
In especially a couple of days, thinking that Sam's the font of knowledge or the reasonable land.
Yeah. He correctly and irritatingly diagnoses that she wants to get her parents to notice her. If I was her, I would just have said, shut up, leave me alone.
He doesn't have a degree in psychology.
You're not my psychiatrist, my psychologist. You're not even really my friend, to be honest.
I think that was confirmed, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was talked about in a previous episode.
But no, she accepts it might be true, and she might have got a little carried away. And he tells her that the war will end one day because of people like her, and that she...
He insists on sounding, like, mysterious. It's like, stop doing this, telling her things that you know from the future.
And apparently these actions are going to enable her to get through to her parents.
Well, he says, yeah, to use the same technique, chipping away inch by inch.
But we've no idea what their parents are like.
No.
The parents might just be...
They're just rich people.
Yeah, but they might be totally, not disinterested in... This might not do anything at all to persuade them. They might be all wrapped up in their own lives.
And maybe they hate her for other reasons.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Anyhow, Al shows up, but at this point, Sam's getting lofted away by other members of the fraternity. And Al shouts after him that Elizabeth goes back to her parents eventually, so obviously leaves him, and becomes a major player in helping stop the war.
Yeah. And obviously Sam wonders why he hasn't made the leap.
Yeah.
So we find ourselves and the answer in a room, and while dressed in some sort of, is it traditional Hawaiian?
Yeah, it's a luau.
Right, okay, yeah. It's
He takes,
chiefs or something, I don't know.
he's meant to be the god of the luau, and he's taking part in some farcical aquatic ceremony.
Yeah, he gets up in front of a watery altar as Al lets him know that Newt ended up paralysed after jumping
Talk
into...
about burying the lead.
Yes, standing right there.
Just leave that to the last minute of the whole episode.
Yeah, he explains this just before Sam is faced with jumping into the pool.
I am the great Tauwahi, Kappa Lua, Beta Hiti, god of the luau. Let no man refuse my hospitality tonight, lest he shall be forced to suffer through the death of the thousand limbo! Bimbo, limbo, bimbo, limbo. Therefore, my children, go, eat with your fingers, drink with your toes, dance with your lips, until the dawn smiles down upon your warm, unconscious bodies. I am Tauwahi, the great Kappa Lua Beta Hiti, god of the luau, and I leave you with this message. TKB is the life for me. Go get it. TKB is the life for me. TKB is the life for me. Go get it. TKB is the life for me. TKB is the life for me.
At this, Sam is hoisted in the air, making the cause of paralysis more clear.
Yes. Onto a platform, and Al tells him that he needs to leap.
Fortunately, he has enough awareness to belly flop and avoid his head hitting the bottom of the pool.
Yeah.
And he emerges unscathed before leaping into the body of a woman whose kids are fighting. And I think next week is the first one in my lifetime.
Yeah, I think it is.
September 81, so I'd have been 3 months old.
There you go.
And that's the end of this episode. I feel bad for Newt, who's going to come back to a heck of a lot of changes in his life after a day away.
Newt just seems like he's not a bad lad. He's just a bit of a jock, isn't he? A bit of a prankster.
He reminds me a bit of the guy in the one with Terry Hatcher that ended up in the relationship with the girl that was getting abused by the professor.
Yes. But yeah, he's messed up his
whole life.
His whole life here, yeah.
Yeah, he's turned him into some kind of anti-war crusader.
Yeah, and someone who lies about dead brothers to try and get into the pants of a woman.
Everyone's going to think he's a weirdo, but at least he's not paralysed.
Yeah, well, he's got that.
But he doesn't know he was going to be paralysed. So. I wonder how many takes they needed before they hit the groundsman with the water balloon.
17. It's in the trivia.
Is it?
No.
It was a good shot though. I like that. They showed it again in the credits because it was such a good shot.
Yeah. I'm not sure that can knock you off your...
No, I think he was totally taking a dive to try to fool Richarlison there. Yeah, and then I was asking in my questions here again, why did Scooter leave the building if he was meant to be killed? So I don't really understand what happened there. No. Unless there's some other kid in another part of the building that we just didn't see.
Nah.
That doesn't make sense either. Oh, well. Any other thoughts on this one?
That was okay. It's a middling episode.
Okay. Next week's doesn't look that promising.
I think it does.
Do you?
That's a point as well. Of all the leaps he's made so far, only once has he went into the body of a woman. You'd think that just, by chance.
It should be 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although we do find out that these leaps are assigned.
Right? I think eventually it turns out that he's deciding how he's doing it. We don't know. We'll come to this.
And also, why does he not leap into kids? And that question was submitted by Mr. G. Glitter, I think.
We'll leave that one for the audience to think about and ruminate.
Yeah.
Should we do some trivia?
Go for it.
This, after the Christmas break, originally aired on the 3rd of January 1990. Directed by Gilbert M. Shelton, the last of his 4 episodes. You hear more about him back on the podcast in season 1 for The Right Hand of God. Written by Chris Rupenthal, a 2nd of 10 for him. Hear his information back on the podcast for Good Morning Peoria. Elizabeth Spokane was played by Stacey Edwards. This was her only Quantum Leap appearance, but she's also been in movies and shows including Primary Colours, Chicago Hope, Murder, She Wrote, and Superbad. She's still active. She's now 57 years old. She was actually also born in Glasgow.
Oh.
Glasgow, Montana.
Oh.
Darren Dalton played Duck. That sounds like a tongue twister. This was his only Quantum Leap episode, but he also appeared in shows like Cagney and Lacey, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, and the movie Red Dawn. He's now 57, but his last screen credit was 10 years ago. Raphael Sabarge played Will, so that's one of the frat guys, not the one with the short blonde hair or the one with the kind of floppy dark hair, the other one. This was his only Quantum Leap appearance, but he's been a prolific character actor appearing in movies like Risky Business and Independence Day, as well as series like Murder, She Wrote. He was a recurring character in Star Trek Voyager. He was in Once Upon a Time, and he's in one of the recent Dahmer miniseries as well. I'm not sure which one. He's now 58 years old, still active. Brian Haley played Guna, the one that you pointed out with the sort of army haircut. He only appeared in this one Quantum Leap. He's also been on series like Baywatch, ER, The Blacklist, and films like Pearl Harbor, Little Giants, and The Departed. He's now 59. He seems to still be active as well. Hags, the last of the 3 main frat guys, was played by Stuart Fratkin. This was his only Quantum Leap, but he also appeared in shows like The Golden Girls, Friends, Murder One, and one episode, as you previously mentioned, of Sledgehammer.
That is one of my favourite episodes.
He
Brilliant.
Played 8-track and 2 Sledge with Love. He's now 59, and his last screen credit was in 2016. Scooter was played by Robert Petkoff. This was his only Quantum Leap, but he's been in shows like Law and Order, Elementary, Madam Secretary. He's now 59, still active, and he does a lot of stage stuff. I think it's just Shakespeare stuff. In terms of trivia, there was a similar real-life incident at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 1970, where anti-war protesters blew up a building and killed a physics researcher and injured some others. Sam referred to Duck as Abby Hoffman when he was talking about the speech to Elizabeth. Abby Hoffman was an activist. He was a leading proponent of flower power, and he was one of the Chicago 7.
Oh, yeah.
He was. You remember, did you watch the movie about the Chicago 7?
No, but I'm aware of it, yeah.
Following on from her appearance, appearing last time round, Troyanne Belisario made an uncredited appearance in this episode.
As a party guest?
I think either a party guest or one of the girls in the dorm, I'm not sure,
Right.
maybe both.
Okay.
In terms of things we learned, Sam was at college when he was 16. He wasn't in a fraternity. Anything else?
Yeah, I've got some more trivia, or one
Okay.
piece of trivia. Bruce McGill, who played Weird Ernie in the first episode,
Okay.
was in Animal House.
Right, which is the related.
Yeah.
Next week, we have Another Mother, where Sam has to help a single-parent family stick together. So we will see you in 1981, a good vintage.
Until then,
Cheerio.
bye-bye.